my opinion, Geekbench is a very biased benchmark against non-Apple products, and this can be seen in a variety of different instances, but for the longest time, Geekbench has shown that the iPhones had superior processors, which they did up until the S23 Ultra. S23 Ultra comes out, and it very narrowly closes the gap between Apple and Samsung. And immediately right after the S23 Ultra is coming out, and you see such a close lack of disparity in the score, there is a new version of Geekbench released called Geekbench 6, in which there's now a 20% jolt to Apple's pre-existing score, whereas Samsung remains much or less the same. And they say, okay, well, this was done to make it more accurate. They should have released this update a good 6 or 7 months prior to the S23 Ultra coming out. Not the S23 Ultra comes out, it nearly matches the iPhone, and then literally a week later, okay, we have a new version of Geekbench, everybody. It looks like a lot of foul play, and I've always suspected this. I've always suspected that Geekbench wasn't fully accurate, that it was lowballing Samsung phones or OnePlus phones or other companies' phones. It can even be seen in their graphics intensive mark. So they measure CPU performance and they measure GPU performance. Measuring onto GPU performance, the iPhone 14 Pro has a score of over 22,000. The equivalent score for the Galaxy S23 Ultra is only 9,000. What Geekbench is saying is that the GPU that is on the iPhone 14 Pro is more than twice as fast as what's on the S23 Ultra when you run an actual graphics intensive benchmark, which is the 3D Mark Wildlife stress test. In this benchmark, Samsung is 15% ahead of Apple. Now, mind you, this is a very graphics-intensive benchmark. How is it possible that Samsung, despite having less than half as powerful of a GPU, is superior to the iPhone 14 Pro? It's comical, but when you look at Geekbench and its founder, John Poole, he used to run a Mac forums website where he would talk about Apple. His reason for creating Geekbench was to have a benchmark between Macs and Windows because he loved using Macs. And there's always been a tint of bias in this benchmarking service, and I feel silly because for the longest time I've actually regarded this benchmark as being legitimate, and now I will stop doing that.